Hey, week 3, Wall Street. How you doing tonight, Tony?
Hey, what's going on, Kyle?
Oh man, I love this show. I'm about as excited as Jorge over here in the chat to get it going.
What's up, Jorge? Ready to get it rolling.
I got your list, and I was excited. We got some good ones on there tonight. We got some beefy boys on there tonight.
Yeah, I think
hard hitters.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's only week 2, but it feels like we're like right.
Oh, your mic just malfunctioned. Nope. Oh, I can hear you now.
You got me?
Yep.
Sweet.
All
yeah,
right.
I was saying it's week 2, but it feels like we're right in the thick of things right now. Like it's like we're mid-fantasy football season form.
I know, dude. It's crazy. Fantasy football mid-season form. The Bills are in mid-season form. I mean, it's wild out there. 100%. All right, so I'm gonna bring this board up, and we'll just get cracking here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see. Where's the best place to put us? Probably there. I'm gonna need space on that one column there. Between the bear and the bull. All right. Anybody particular you want to start with?
I don't know that any place in particular. I think maybe, let's start. For some reason, those 2 Green Bay guys are jumping right out at me, Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. So maybe we can kind of pick up right with those 2 guys.
Yeah, I'll pull them out together and we can do it. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. So I know that we are, like I say, only in week 2, but it's really time for us to start looking at players that maybe might be buy low, sell high candidates. And these 2 guys are kind of juxtaposition against each other. Aaron Jones, it's very funny. We talked about this Monday night, but Aaron Jones did the same exact thing last year. Week 1, he was a goose egg. Week 2, he exploded. He had a monster fantasy day, and people thought, okay, all is right in the fantasy world with Aaron Jones. He's going to be absolutely fine. And then it was hit and miss with him all season long. At the same time, following this game on Sunday, Dillon seems to kind of be a little bit of an afterthought. And so for me, this is really an opportune time to sell high on Aaron Jones and buy low on AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon is not going anywhere in this offense. They are going to continue to transition over to him, heavily involved in the run game. He's also involved in the pass game. I think this was kind of just more game script and how things came together for them on Sunday. Look for this receiving core to kind of get right. And AJ Dillon for me right now, it's just a great opportunity to buy low. If someone maybe someone thinks with Aaron Jones emerging on Sunday, AJ Dillon is not going to be involved in this offense, and that is not going to be the case moving forward. So for me, it's kind of like a great time to sell high on Aaron Jones and get in on AJ Dillon while maybe his stock is a little bit low.
Yeah, you got to find those overreactors in your league.
100%.
Those are the ones you like.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing too: is AJ Dillon still controlled 56% of those rush attempts. Yeah. So he had the majority of the carries. He 18%, Aaron Jones 15% of the targets, AJ Dillon 18% of the targets. So AJ Dillon's still very involved. Aaron Jones, of course, outproduced him on Sunday, but
and that'll happen sometimes.
It's going to happen on occasion. Yeah.
Yeah. Albert over here in the chat too. What's up, my guy?
Oh, Albert.
All right. Jorge had a question with Dalvin Cook in it. So let's talk about him and then we'll answer his question.
Where's the question? I don't see that.
Don't worry about it. I got it when we're done. When you're done talking about Cook. That's why I'm running the show.
I totally hear you.
You're Dalvin Cook, and I run the show. That's how it works.
Okay, let's do it that way. I like it best that way. Remember, they call me professor for the reason. It's not just because I look like a professor, but because I'm an old guy. Old guys are usually your professors, and this kind of some of this new age technology, like melon, I don't know how to navigate through. But let's jump into Dalvin Cook. This is a prime opportunity to buy low on an elite RB1 in Dalvin Cook. And he is going to be a main fixture in this offense. He handled 80% of the backfield snaps, 73% route participation. And this guy is just getting started on the season. Do not be worried about Dalvin Cook. He's an elite fantasy running back. He's an elite option. And this is probably one of your few chances you're going to have on the season to buy low on him.
All right, now Jorge's question. Should he trade Fournette for Dalvin Cook?
So you're going to be giving Fournette and getting Cook back? Is it
Right.
straight up?
It seems
For
to be.
Fournette and someone else. Oh, I see it now.
He said he seems to think Fournette has a hard schedule, but he says, or would you rather have Waddle and Dillon for Fournette instead of Dalvin Cook?
Yeah, some of these questions, we've talked about this before. It seems, we get some of these questions in a vacuum, and it's really hard to answer that intelligently without knowing the full extent of the roster. I'd hate to see you give up a guy like Waddle if you need him at that running back slot. It's hard not to love Waddle rest of the season, especially after what we saw from him on Sunday in that offense. So Waddle and AJ Dillon, not sure that I would quite do that. But if you have
he has Fournette, so he would either be getting Cook or he'd be getting Waddle and Dillon.
Yeah, I think value wise, or Waddle.
I think you were reading it. I think you were reading it backwards.
I got you. I thought he was talking about Waddle and Dillon for Cook.
No.
Waddle and Dillon for Cook is probably a fair value, but again, depends what's happening at your wide receiver position. This is the question: is Waddle and Dillon for Fournette and someone else? It depends who that someone else is.
Yeah, and then he was asking Fournette for Cook straight up.
So I don't understand. Did you have Fournette, Jorge?
He has Fournette, and I guess he's getting offers. He was offered Waddle and Dillon for Fournette and someone else.
Allen,
for Fournette.
Jonathan Taylor, Fournette, Deebo, Sutton, Higbee, Patterson, Brady, Godwin, Hines is my roster. So yeah, so I think in that it's. And you're starting 2 running backs, 2 receivers. With these questions, I'm just going to start assuming that you're starting 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. I'm just going to start assuming that.
I've been assuming that forever. It's pretty standard.
Yeah. So if that's the case, so if that's the case, you add Waddle to that, and you now have Deebo, Sutton, Waddle, and Jonathan Allen and AJ Dillon. I like that roster an awful lot. Here's another thing too, and I'm a big Lenny guy, huge Lenny guy, and I have a lot of stock in Lenny. That hamstring has me concerned. This has been an issue for him the past few years. He missed a few games last year because of that hammy. We've got Rashad White waiting in the wings. So you can get Waddle and AJ Dillon. I definitely think you're getting fair value for Fournette. And again, you're talking to a guy who absolutely loves Fournette. What's that?
So then you'd also take Cook for Fournette straight up, I assume.
I would do that straight up, yeah.
Yeah. So either one of those is a good deal.
Yeah, I can't imagine someone's going to give Cook for Fournette.
I find it hard to believe, but maybe.
Now I'm going to tell you this too. I'm going to say this real quick, and this guy's not on the list. But I do want to throw this out here, and please, don't throw me to the wolves when I say this. I kind of had some high-end guys last year that we talked about maybe an opportunity to sell, but this might we might need to consider selling JT in this offense. And I'm not suggesting you necessarily do that unless you can get elite value for him. But I do have some concerns on Jonathan Taylor, and he's not on the list for tonight. But this offense is just struggling big time. What's that?
He's on the list now. I just put him in the sell column.
I'm not saying sell the guy. But I'm tempted. Believe me, I'm very tempted to talk
So we'll
about.
throw him over here for now then. But
What's that?
I said I guess I'll throw him in the hold for now. But
I want to trade for Fournette. So I don't understand, Jorge. You're trading away Fournette. I want to trade for Fournette
I don't
because of
think
injury.
he knows how to type. Jorge,
Yeah, I think if
Jorge
you
on
can
the
get
struggle
Cook,
bus with the terminology here.
Jorge, if you can get Cook for Fournette, I would do that in a heartbeat.
He's got Fournette. Oh, he says he also has Madison. So Cook and Madison together.
Yeah, so it makes sense to kind of
if you can get
handcuff
Cook
them
with
together.
Fournette. But
Yeah.
who would you ask for Jonathan Taylor? I don't know, CMC off the top of my head.
What's that?
He asked, "Who would you ask for Jonathan Taylor?" Christian McCaffrey.
I think JT's value is greater than Jonathan Taylor. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's value is greater than McCaffrey. I think it's Jonathan Taylor's right there with Cooper Kupp and Jefferson. So you're kind of in that elite.
Backs at first,
you're in that elite tier. What's that?
Oh, I was just going running backs off the top of my head, but yeah, right wide receivers. Shoot, I'd rather have Kupp or Jefferson.
I mean, Jefferson, it could be a good opportunity to kind of get him. Maybe owners panic because he didn't produce on that Monday night game, and you could buy low on him after week 2. But those are the types of guys you're looking at. It's got to be elite value. You're not going to give JT away, but I do have some concerns on him in that offense for the season.
These are the types of situations where I always say people get a little too stuck in the running back mentality.
Right.
Like stud is stud, points are points,
Right.
Your wide receivers are going to stay healthier more statistically anyways, historically rather. So, JT for Kupp or Jefferson sounds crazy to the running back truthers out there, but for me, like that's no problem.
Yeah, Jorge, I would not get Naji Harris. Naji Harris is actually he's in our he's on our panel for tonight, and he's a guy that I'm selling.
I do love Diggs though. But
I do love Diggs too.
If they have a different running back you can pair with Diggs, I'd be down.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the value, I mean, the kind of the trade value is very close. It's comparable, but I think you can squeeze more out with Diggs.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Diggs and Naji. I mean, that's definitely that's a nice deal for JT.
Yeah.
Harris is another guy you got to be concerned about.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about Harris while he's in the convo here.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a concerning situation all year long with this offense. With that offensive line, Trubisky just is not the type of quarterback, and they don't have the receiving core to help keep those defenses honest. And it's with his foot injury, I'm very, very nervous on Harris on the season. So I would be trying to move off of Naji Harris if I could do that. And another guy who's on the list too, I think he's on the list, is Derrick Henry for exactly the same reasons. Yep. This is what we're seeing I think we're seeing a combination of things with Derrick Henry. Is we are seeing the kind of the culmination of a ton of the carries and the workload. I think it's taken a toll. More importantly, for Derrick Henry, we're seeing the effects of losing AJ Brown. AJ Brown was just the type of guy who would keep those extra defenders out of the box, keep those defenses honest. And now, they are just, these defenses are just able to focus in and attack Derrick Henry and fill those gaps. And I think we're going to see Derrick Henry struggle this year.
It's kind of that he's starting down that downward slide that everybody was calling for last year between his age and his workloads. It's just, it took a year longer than everybody anticipated, but I think you're starting to see some of that wear and tear.
Yeah, and I want to be really clear. When you're talking about guys like Najee, you're talking about guys like Derrick Henry. You really want to get elite value for them. So I'm not saying you're just going to start giving guys away,
Right.
but if you did draft them, it's not too soon to start thinking about moving off some of these guys and seeing if you can get some tremendous value in return.
Yeah,
because they still have tremendous name value in and of themselves.
Exactly. So let's talk about Deebo Samuel, someone whose value shifted a bit this week.
Yeah, Deebo to me, we talked about him on Monday night, but Deebo to me is a big time buy. My heart breaks for Trey Lance. Certainly, you don't want to see a guy go out that way due to injury. You'd rather see somebody beat him out. But Garoppolo is a pocket passer. They are going to have to lean more heavily now on a Deebo Samuel. Kittle is not able to stay healthy. Elijah Mitchell is out. This offense already ran through Deebo Samuel. They're going to have to double down now on Deebo. So I absolutely love Deebo. Maybe pre-injury to Trey Lance, you could maybe put him in like the high end or wide receiver 2, maybe tier. This easily slides him as a wide receiver 1. He's definitely a top 10 receiver moving forward rest of the season.
I agree.
Absolutely love Deebo moving forward. He got paid in the offseason. They're not going to give that guy the type of money they gave him unless he's going to be heavily involved in their offensive plans and scheme.
Yeah, totally. All right, let's talk about someone who keeps hurting me.
Who's that?
Mr. Kyle Pitts.
I got to tell you, Kyle. So Monday night, I talked about Kyle Pitts, and I said, going back to last year, this is a guy who gets who gets knocked because he's not producing on the field, especially when it comes to fantasy. However, he has elite routes run for a tight end, and the target share is there. He just Sunday he had 22% target share, so he has elite utilization at the tight end position. He's just not been able to produce and put up the numbers that we expect now or looking for from Kyle Pitts. And so I would have said at some point we've got to start to change how we look at Pitts. And until he produces, I'm not sure I'm very excited about having him on my roster. That being said, elite routes run and target share, it's such a level where I'm beginning to think maybe this is a good opportunity to buy low on him. And so I'm going to put him in my buy low column. I'm not giving up on Kyle Pitts.
You should be able to get him pretty low too. I mean,
what's that?
You should be able to get him pretty cheap.
You could probably get him pretty cheap. And I'm telling you, 91% route participation for a tight end it's just an elite percentage. So let's put him into that buy low column and see if we can get him cheap and just continue to see and hope and pray that this utilization turns into actual fantasy production.
Got my fingers crossed. Let's talk about his teammate, Drake London.
Yeah, so I was really impressed. Watching some of that game, he's for me, he's climbing up the ladder in these wide receiver rankings. This now is the guy who is also getting a very strong target share, 46% target share on Sunday. That's just a monster number. He led the team in air yards. He really, based on his utilization, it might not be too long before we put him in that wide receiver 2 category. So for me, it's I've got Drake London in my buy column. I don't see any indication that this is going to change either.
Yeah, he's climbing and he's climbing fast. He seems to be extremely legit.
Well, again, only through 2 weeks, but through 2 weeks, this is not an aberration. He was 22% target share, which in and of itself is a very strong target share for a receiver. This Sunday, 46%, which is an insane percentage. That is not going to be all season. But it definitely gives you reason to be excited and hyped up about Drake London.
Absolutely. All right, let's pull out this pair of Cardinal receivers here. Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. So I've got both of these guys on my buy column. DeAndre Hopkins, going back to last year, he was a bit of a disappointment, dealt with some injury last year.
Yeah.
But I like him coming back from the suspension into this high-powered offense with Kyler Murray. I think he's exactly the type of receiver that Kyler Murray needs. I think Marquise Brown is more of a guy that stretches the field, and DeAndre Hopkins is a guy that can line up in all different positions, and he can be a check down guy. He can be, a deep guy. And so I do expect once he comes back for him to be heavily involved in this passing game. And most leagues have a team who's rostered DeAndre Hopkins. But if that team is struggling with the receiver position or the running back position, you might be able to get this guy cheap, because guys, people are more concerned about the the today. Yeah. I'm losing games. I'm 0-2. I've got DeAndre Hopkins. He isn't doing me any good on my bench. Might even be thinking about dropping the guy outright. So you might be able to prime away from somebody for pennies on the dollar. And then Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown is definitely a guy in this offense who is the go-to receiver. 19% target share week 1, 23% target share week 2. We don't kind of see him ranked very high in the weekly rankings, but he's got, that's really elite target share. He has elite route utilization, 96%, 95%. That means on 96%, 95% of Kyler Murray's dropbacks, this guy is out running routes. So he leads the team in routes run. It's a guy that if you can get him cheap, I'd get him. He's a buy low candidate for me.
Absolutely. Junior disagrees with Derrick Henry being in the sell column. He says wait until he goes off, then selling.
There's a lot of wisdom in that, Junior.
Which I don't disagree with at all.
I do not disagree with that. There's a lot of wisdom, and that's smart. So, like Derrick Henry, maybe more so than Naji. I think you're right. I think, it's kind of, let's see how he does and wait for him to blow up one week and then move him. The problem is if we continue to see these types of weeks from Derrick Henry, his value is going to continue to plummet.
Yeah. Yeah, because if it takes him 4 or 5 games to have that blow up, then people are going to notice that's an aberration, as opposed to still anticipating one maybe in week 3, and you can sell him now. So,
right.
All right, let's talk about ETN and Robinson. I know we've talked about these guys before, but they were on your list, so let's hit them again.
Yeah, I know we talked about them already, but I'm going to do it again. There seems to be a lot of talk still about these guys. And so I'm going to continue. I think I did the same thing last week. Etienne for me is a sell candidate. He did kind of maybe, I don't want to say bounce back, because it's not like he blew up, but for me, he really is going to depend on kind of those negative game scripts to become a value, because of maybe getting more involved in that passing game. He did have a 10% target share. It's not horrible. Only 21% of the rushing attempts, while James Robinson just dominated the touches. Robinson also led in routes run between him and Etienne. So he is still, to me, clearly the running back to own in Jacksonville. And I don't think that we're going to see that shift. That coaching staff, right from back to the offseason back in June and July, Peterson was talking about this guy being their 3-down back. So I've seen him on some sell high lists. I've seen him out there with a couple of different sites talking about selling this. I'm not selling James Robinson. For me, he at the very least is a hold.
Yeah, if you didn't buy him low last week, you might have missed your opportunity already.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who next? Oh, this guy's pissing me off. Darnell Mooney.
Yeah, I mean, do we even need to have him on the list?
You put
Is
him on the
anybody
list.
still kind of buying into Darnell Mooney?
I know it's only been 2 weeks, but good Lord.
Yeah.
2 catches or nothing.
Here's the thing. He's definitely getting elite route participation. He does own. He didn't in week 2, but he's 18% target share week 1, 18% target share week 2. The passing offense is definitely going to go through this guy. They just can't seem to get this offense on track going back to last year. I think the offensive line is struggling. I don't even, if I've got Darnell Mooney, I don't even know if I can continue to roster him. He's really a drop for me. So if you can sell him, I would sell him.
I'm actually considering dropping him in a league right now. So I was going to ask you that.
Right.
Let's see. Junior had a follow-up. If you think Henry just had one bad game, and then the Titans played the Bills, who were shutting everybody down, that makes sense. I mean, everybody starts off slow. I think Henry will have big numbers, and that's very possible.
My issue with Derrick Henry is it goes back to last year, coming back into that playoff game, did not look himself, coming back from that injury. He what did he say that he it's only 1 week, just had one bad game. I mean,
he had one bad game, and then they played the Bills, which everybody has a bad game. So,
gotcha.
Which is a fair point, but
yeah. So I mean, look, this is my opinion. It's very subjective. Fantasy football is a subjective thing. I don't think it's irrational to look at this offense and see how they are struggling without AJ Brown. We underestimate the value of a guy like AJ Brown. It's much like Von Miller added to that Buffalo Bills defense. It's kind of the entire defense has gone to a whole nother level by having another edge rusher there who can put pressure on that offensive line and open up things for other defensive linemen, put pressure on the quarterback that helps your secondary. And you saw how it hurt the Rams defense. Aaron Donald, certainly the first couple of weeks has not looked like his all-pro self. And so you see the same thing taking place on offense. And look at Philadelphia's offense. I mean, they look spectacular. AJ Brown has that type of an effect on the defense. This guy's an alpha receiver. He's a bona fide number 1 guy. And defenses had to respect the passing game with a guy like AJ Brown in the lineup. The loss of him really, really hurts Derrick Henry. And I don't think we're going to see that change anytime real soon.
Yeah, because Treylon Burks is not there yet.
Very few players in the league are AJ Brown.
Right. No, you're good, Junior. We appreciate you giving your 2 cents, my dude.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's what this is all about.
Yeah, man. Come on in and drop that knowledge. Let's see.
Someone dropped Pitts. How crazy is that?
My thing skipped on me when I went to click it. Another thing popped up. Someone dropped Pitts in your league. How much fab should I spend? I still have 100.
Damon, who are you running at tight end?
Yeah, who are you running at tight end?
I'd love to get me some Pitts. I do think it is a buy low.
If you can get him like that off fab money, like that's the best way to get him. Here's Freiermuth.
Yeah. So I like Freiermuth. Freiermuth doesn't have Pitts upside.
Yeah.
So I would personally, I would probably go 15 to 20% of my fab on a guy like Pitts and
That's
what he can do
exactly
for
what I
your
was thinking.
roster. He can definitely raise the ceiling. His upside is significant.
Yeah, I was going to say
And
the
here's the
same.
thing too. Here's one thing I want to say is, and we saw Arthur Smith, R. Smith being the head coach of the Falcons, talk about it on Sunday. He is hearing it from the fans, not just the
Yeah.
fantasy football fans. He is hearing it, and don't think that head coaches are oblivious to that. They hear the noise, they hear the chatter.
Well, probably everybody on the team too. It's like we spent a 4th-round pick or a number 4
that's
overall
what
pick
doesn't
on
make
this
sense to
guy.
me.
Let's freaking use him.
Yeah, that's what
Everybody in that
doesn't make sense
stadium
to me.
besides Arthur Smith can figure that out.
Yeah. No, that's what doesn't make sense. Totally agree. Talked about that on Monday night. So yeah, I mean, if you can get Pitts, I'd get Pitts.
Let's see. Jorge, will Deebo and Tyreek Hill together be legit on a roster with Allen and Taylor? Yeah. That would be amazing. Damon, should I panic on Naji?
Yes.
Absolutely. Because it's not just, I know we talked about the offense already earlier because we got him in the sell list, but that foot too, man. Little nerve wracking. Should I trade James Robinson for Javonte Williams?
I would do that.
Yeah.
I would do that 100%.
Javonte Williams is just built different.
That he's a different type of dude. Absolutely.
Derryberry in the house.
That guy's a load. Hey, Derry. Yeah, man. If you can get Javonte on your roster, I think that's a guy whose value is going to continue to climb throughout the season. And just wait, Denver's going to get this thing sorted out on offense. So they've got too much talent on that team. I think you're going to have scoring opportunities with Javonte Williams. He's involved in that passing game. So absolutely, I would do that.
These people ask questions at the right time to segue us perfectly right into Javonte Williams.
Yeah, he's a buy for me every day, 7 days a week. I'm buying Javonte Williams.
Pretty easy call there, huh?
Yeah, and look, here's the thing too: is in week 2 he had 65% snap share. So for those of you who don't grow up like I did, having to do quick math, because everybody now, they use their phones, they do math, and you check out at the cash register, and everything is they can't make change if you give them cash. They don't know how to do it without a computer. 65 from 100 is 35, so it's a 65 to 35 split. I like that split for Javonte Williams.
You know what's the funniest about everybody using their phone now? Remember when our teachers used to tell us you won't always have a calculator? So they wouldn't let us use them in class, and now everybody has a calculator all of the time. So they lied to us.
So just a couple things, on Javonte. He is outpacing Gordon. Gordon lost ground in every single possible category from week 1 to week 2. Javonte owns the snaps. Javonte owns the routes run. Javonte owns the carries. Javonte owns the targets, and he is killing it. I mean, we already know that this guy, much like Chubb, yards after initial contact, he's over a full yard higher than the league average with yards gained after initial contact. This guy is just this guy's a stud. So I just don't think this offense is going to be able to hold him back. I don't even think Hackett can hold this guy back. I think he's so good that he's going to take over this backfield.
Absolutely. All right, who's next? Let's do CMC.
So
I'll give you an easy one.
What's that?
I'll give you an easy one.
Yeah, I mean, for real, CMC is definitely a buy candidate. We're not selling CMC right now. I know that some owners are a little bit, maybe panicked is not the right word, concerned maybe, and so you might be able to get him for less than his actual value from an owner who might be a little bit panicked on CMC. So I do have some injury concerns, but you can't really kind of let that factor in there. Lots of guys have injury concerns, but this
Yeah.
guy, when healthy, when playing, and every week, there are very few running backs who every single week kind of give you the opportunity to be the number one overall RB, and that's what Christian McCaffrey provides.
You know what I'm finding this season more than any other season I can remember is really providing a huge buyer's market for top end running backs.
Yeah.
A lot of them are starting out pretty slow.
Well,
And
some of them
so,
I do have on my sell list, but yes, I agree with you. And then kind of talking about that, there's two more. Let's put them in. Let's put them out there also. And that's Mixon and Eckler.
yep.
These are also guys who I think are tremendous candidates to buy low. I absolutely love Eckler. Um, it's a lot of this has to do sort of with game script, but he is so heavily involved with this offense. He owns the rushing attempts, he owns the snap share, he owns the route run, the routes run, the targets out of the backfield. It's a high powered offense. They struggled a little bit the first 2 weeks, but this guy is still a top 5, top 6 running back in fantasy. And if you can get him cheap, certainly this might be an opportunity to do that. And the other guy is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon for me in this offense, again, another offense that has struggled a little bit going back to week 1. And Mixon for me, elite utilization. There isn't anybody on that offense in that roster who poses any type of a threat to Joe Mixon. 73% of the shares, 93% of the rushing attempts, 60% target share, 56% routes run. I mean, this is he is. If you look up bell cow running back in a dictionary, you're going to see a picture of Joe Mixon. This guy is definitely a bona fide RB1 in fantasy. Do not be panicked on a guy like this. If you own him, you're not. Don't give him away. Don't trade him. If you can trade for him, I'm buying stock right now in Mixon.
Yeah, for real. Or any of those guys we just talked about.
Yeah.
Those Javonte, McCaffrey, Eckler, Mixon. If you want to get rid of any of them, hit me up. All right. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's go Scary Terry. Love me some Scary Terry.
What's that?
I love me some Scary Terry, man.
I love me some Scary Terry too. And, this offense has been clicking. And we're seeing the guy, we're seeing Curtis Samuel. I've talked about Curtis Samuel myself. Love Curtis Samuel. He's getting a lot of love in the fantasy world, and rightfully so. And I'm personally, I'm high on Samuel, but not like McLaurin. McLaurin is just a different type of guy, and this offense is a different type of offense with Terry McLaurin in it. And just wait, he is going to be okay. He is going to be a weekly starter for you in your roster. I definitely view him as a high end, probably put him as a high end wide receiver too. But this is a guy right now that you might be able to buy low because so many people are talking about Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson. Even Gibson, Gibson's getting a lot of love right now. So I think personally, McLaurin is a guy that is just a perfect target, a guy that you can get cheap with someone who might be nervous because they see the emergence of guys like Samuel and Dotson. Go ahead and get yourself some Terry McLaurin, get him on your roster.
Absolutely. Let's go Darrell Henderson.
Darrell Henderson for me is a hold. I know we talked about him week 1. We talked about Akers week 1. Here's the thing, even after following week 2, this guy is dominating the passing downs. He's dominating the routes run, and he's dominating the targets in this offense. Do not move off of Darrell Henderson. Hold this guy. I'm not necessarily buying stock in Henderson. I'm not too crazy about the Rams running back position in general, just because it's a team that's going to go through Stafford and Cooper Kupp, now Allen Robinson, who we saw kind of getting into a groove last week. So, I'm not crazy about the running backs, but I'm not moving off of Darrell Henderson. He's going to be a valuable guy to have on your roster.
And since you brought him up, go ahead and hit up Allen Robinson too, man. Oh, I think we lost your mic. Yeah. We lost your mic, Tony.
You got me?
Yep, you're back.
Okay. I don't know why my mic does that occasionally. I apologize. And I do have –
Huh. Well, I can't. I don't know what it's off again now after you picked it up.
now?
There it is.
Yes, because when I lifted it, I pulled the cable out. So not a cheap mic. I don't understand why it goes out on me. But who we talk about? Allen Robinson. Yeah, do not sell this guy. This guy is going to be fantasy value all season long. If he has a game like he did in week 1, it's a great opportunity to buy low on him. They're going to find ways to get this guy the football more and more as the season moves forward. He needs to be a big part of this offense. And McVay has talked about wanting to create plays, not necessarily create plays, but call plays on Sundays specifically to go to Allen Robinson. This guy is an absolute dog as far as receivers are concerned, and do not move off of him. Make sure you're holding on to Allen Robinson.
Finally finding that stride.
Yes.
All right. Hit us with some Rashad Bateman knowledge.
Yeah, I don't understand the hate for Rashad Bateman. This guy, I'm all over the place. I look, get rid of Rashad Bateman, dump Rashad Bateman, and I don't get it. Rashad Bateman is going to have value in this offense. He is the wide receiver 1. He really, outside of Mark Andrews, I think Mark Andrews might be the primary receiving option. But as far as receivers are concerned, he dominates routes run, and he dominating the target share, 25% target share at the receiver position. Why would you get rid of the guy? I mean, it's unfathomable to me to move off of a guy like Rashad Bateman, who can really kind of raise the ceiling on your starting receivers. I think I view him as a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3. He's a perfect guy if you want to have a guy that you can roll in and out of your flex. You got 2 other starting receivers, but do not sell Rashad Bateman. Hold on to this guy. He's going to have value for your roster all season long.
I think some people's mentality is maybe, the first 2 weeks he just had long touchdowns, so that's all he can do. And if he doesn't get one of those, he doesn't have value. So you can kind of understand, I guess, the mentality, but it's incorrect.
Right.
Let's see. Allie had a question over here. Would you trade Curtis Samuel for Jerry Jeudy?
Boy, that is a really good question.
It's a lot tougher than it should be.
Yeah, I think I'm probably making that deal. I'm probably making that move and getting Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
I just think this offense is going to get better and better as the year goes on. Curtis Samuel certainly does get a lot of volume in that offense, at least to start the season, but he's not a Jerry Jeudy. And as much as Carson Wentz has kind of started off the season with a bang, he's not a Russell Wilson. So I if you can get Jerry Jeudy, what's the injury situation with him?
I don't know. I don't know how serious it is. Let me see here.
Yeah,
I'll pull it up real quick.
That's the only thing that I would look into is
I don't think it's anything long term. Let's see here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we don't. I mean, we don't. I know that he had a chest injury week 2, so he's day to day. Yeah. So as long as, it doesn't seem like it's anything serious. So I don't think it's anything to be worried about. If you can get Jerry Jeudy, I would definitely do that. He's a bona fide wide receiver 2 in this offense, right there with Sutton. I see Sutton and Jeudy kind of both in that wide receiver 2 range.
Yeah.
If that helps you. I do think that for me, McLaurin is the guy to own in this offense, and Samuel is kind of more of maybe a wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
And if you saw from week 1 to week 2, Samuel's target share came down just a little bit. Here's the thing with Samuel that kind of makes me a little bit concerned about him is maybe concerned isn't the right word, but he isn't the number 1 receiver in that offense. Logan Thomas is getting healthy. And so you could have a lot of mouths to feed there between McLaurin and Dotson. It seems to be the kind of that red zone guy that's looking down in the end zone. Curtis Samuel is your volume receiver, and you've got Logan Thomas. So Jeudy, I think, has a higher ceiling. Maybe Samuel's floor is maybe just a tad higher than Jeudy, but Judy's the guy that I'd rather roster.
Correct. All right. What about Amari Cooper? He had a good week this week.
Yeah. You know what that means? It means it's the perfect time to sell Amari Cooper. Sell Amari Cooper. This is the perfect time to do it. Here's the thing with Cleveland. First off, and please, if not that Jacoby Brissett is listening to our podcast, but if he is, this is no offense to Jacoby Brissett, but it's Jacoby Brissett. I think when Deshaun Watson comes back, his value is probably higher, but that's not going to be until week 13, and who knows what the offense looks like then. Here's my issue with Amari Cooper. Okay, first off, he disappears at times during the game, and you know that better than anybody, Kyle, because you're a Dallas Cowboy fan.
In Dallas. Yeah.
You had Amari Cooper for a few years there. But here's the other thing. Cleveland is a team that wants to run the football. They want to pound the football with Chubb and beat you up on defense. This is not going to be a high-powered passing offense. And so I'm not super interested in receivers in that style offense. And that's the same thing we talked about Darnell Mooney. Chicago is a very, very low passing volume offense. And so you got to move off of those receivers because when the volume isn't there and it's a low volume passing offense, that ceiling, it just bottoms out. And so Amari Cooper, for me, is he going to have an occasional game? Probably. He's a talented receiver, but I don't want him in fantasy. So he's a sell for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, he was in Dallas for a few years there, and he does tend to disappear. All right, let's hit our last running back up here, Mr. James Conner.
So James Conner is a guy for me. I've seen, I've seen some be really concerned and nervous about James Conner, but I'm going to tell you something. Eno Benjamin is not taking over this running game. Darrell Williams is not taking over this running game. I know Connor's a little bit banged up, but this is a guy for me right now. It's a perfect opportunity to buy low on him.
Connor's always a little bit banged up.
He really is, but this offense is just getting started. Connor's going to be the bell cow in this offense. He is going to dominate the snap share. He's going to dominate the rushing attempts. He's going to dominate the routes run and the targets out of this running back room. So here's a guy right now that you can probably buy low. And when he's healthy in this offense, he's in that running back one range. So, I think for me, I'm looking to buy Conner if I can get him.
I'm going to have to get rid of this overlay down here since we had
I'm looking at his week 1 because week 2
so many buys tonight.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking at his week 1 numbers. Week 1, 72% snap share. That's tremendous. 53% routes rushing attempts, so it means he had more than half the rushing attempts. He 63% of the routes he ran from the running back position. He had 16% of the targets. Those are just tremendous numbers.
Yeah. No, we had so many buys tonight that I had to get rid of the overlay on the bottom.
Yeah.
So that we could see them.
That's funny.
Oh, shoot. All right. What about Gesicki?
So Gesicki for me is a sell candidate.
Yeah.
We kind of saw him get in the action a little bit on Sunday, but this is Mark Duper and Clayton reborn in Miami. If for those of you who are too young and don't know that, look up Dan Marino's receivers, Duper and Clayton. I mean, these guys were super dynamic, put up tremendous numbers in the passing offense back in the 80s. And I think we've seen that now. You saw Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, that really is where the passing offense is at. So for me, Gesicki, he had a really, really nice week at the tight end spot, but his route participation is just it's really very low, and not the type of route participation you want in your tight end. So for me, it's going to continue to be the Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle show. I'm selling Gesicki if you can.
Absolutely. I didn't even draft him anywhere. I didn't want
him. You don't have him anywhere?
Nowhere. Him, Knox, and Hunter Henry were the three I was staying away from during draft season. I wouldn't touch them with somebody else's 10-foot pole. And so far, it's working out pretty fine. So,
yeah.
All right, let's hit up DJ Moore, and then we'll hit Timmy's question over here in chat.
Yeah, so DJ Moore, we talked about him on Monday night, and don't remember how his name came up and how we got onto talking about him, but his value seems to have taken a real big hit. And so for me, DJ Moore at this point now, following week 2, is a buy low. I do think that, I know that his target share is very strong. He is the, at least coming out of week 2, the most targeted receiver in that offense. 100% routes run. That means 100% of the times that Mayfield is dropping back, DJ Moore is running routes. It doesn't get any higher than 100% for those of you who weren't sure. So 100%
math majors again.
100%. Yeah, right. 23% target share. 34% of the air yards. Those are just tremendous numbers. And DJ Moore is not going anywhere in this offense. So he's a guy that if you can get him, I'd buy him low.
Absolutely. So here's one last look at our final board.
We had a lot of guys tonight, huh?
Looks a little lopsided there for the buy column.
We did mostly buy. There are a lot of buys today.
a lot of good buy lows for you guys that like to trade. And speaking of trade, Timmy wants to know Diggs for Devontae. I don't know if that's getting or giving Diggs for Devontae, but
you know what? I mean, for me, it's
a wash for me.
Yeah.
Pick your poison. Whichever you prefer to watch on TV, pick him.
I think you're talking about, two guys who are going to be consistently ranked in the top 5. Yeah. It's an elite receiver for an elite receiver. For my money, I know that Buffalo has kind of started off with a bang, and we saw the game that Diggs had. But remember, Gabe Davis was out. I think that changes things a little bit, and maybe a lot bit. Diggs is not going to have those types of games every single week, obviously. Devontae maybe did not put up the type of numbers we expected him in that Arizona game. So for me, it might be a good opportunity to sell. I don't want to say sell high on Diggs and buy low on Devontae, but if you're moving Diggs for Devontae, you might be able to get more than just Devontae for Diggs, is my point.
That's
at the end of the day, if all things being equal and you're looking at one or the other, I've got my money on Davante Adams, because I just think that this is going to be a volume receiver who gives you such a unique high floor. And then he also has that high, very, very high ceiling. So I think he kind of gives you the best of both. Diggs sometimes can be a little bit of a bust. I don't want to say bust. Maybe that's not the right word, but he does have some down games. And I think this offense is going to kind of take on a little bit of a different identity with Gabe Davis in there.
That's why you're the professor.
That being said, I mean, he did look fantastic.
He did. He's very good.
Yeah, I mean, very good is an understatement.
Yeah, just a little bit. All righty. Well, that's all we got in the chat. That's our board for the night. So we'll go ahead and wrap this bad boy. We'll be back tomorrow night on Boom Bust. So come on back then. Think of some more questions. You can come back and ask us for tomorrow night. Same time, 11:30 Eastern. We'll be back on, and Corey will be with us, and we'll go over Boom Bust for the week. So appreciate y'all hanging out. Oh, Allie. Okay. Last question, Allie. Allie Boss God. Henry for Mixon.
What do you think about that, Kyle? I'll let you answer a question here.
I want Mixon in that one. And we talked about Henry and Mixon, and I agree 100% on both of everything you already said. So, I mean, I would prefer Mixon.
Yeah. So I 100% agree. And let me kind of say this too about Henry and Mixon. And I don't want this to be overlooked. And that is this. Mixon is really involved in the passing game from the running back position.
Yeah.
He is running routes, 50%, 56% routes run, 60% of the targets. This guy is getting both touches and receptions. Derrick Henry does not offer that for you. And unlike Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. You know, they've got weapons on offense that takes the pressure off of Joe Mixon. The opposing defenses cannot load the box to shut down that run game because they've got to respect Chase and Higgins. So for me, I honestly don't even think it's close.
Yeah. Okay. Last question, just because I know Fowler hadn't said anything the entire time.
What's up, Matt?
Gotten here. We'll answer his, and then we're going to cut it off for the night. Should you trade Deebo for Mixon? He has Tyreek, Mike Williams, Curtis Samuel, Bateman at receiver, Eckler, Jacobs, and Akers are running back. Yeah, absolutely. Trade Deebo for Mixon in that situation.
I would almost prefer. I wonder if you can. Like, is there any way? And I'm just spitballing here, of course. Is there any way you can move like a Curtis Samuel and Jacobs or Curtis Samuel and Akers for Mixon, or does the Mixon owner, will he only take Deebo Samuel? Like Deebo for me is just such a unique talent. I prefer to have him over Mike Williams. Like, I wonder if you can move Williams for Mixon and keep Deebo with Tyreek. Like, that would be a 6 starting lineup: Deebo, Tyreek, Mixon, and Eckler. But if you could do like Mike Williams and Jacobs, I would rank those receivers, probably Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel. Not probably. I would rank them Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, and then Mike Williams. So, and I personally, I'd have Bateman over Samuel. So again, I'm starting with the guy that I would rank at the bottom. Not that I don't like Samuel; he's a great number 4 receiver for you. But Samuel and Bateman and Jacobs, maybe you give Samuel, Bateman, and Jacobs for Mixon, and you keep your big 3 studs, something like that. I don't know. Just spitballing, but
it's worth a try.
Right? I would try to work something and keep Deebo if you can. But if he will only take Deebo, yes, I would do that.
Absolutely. All right. Appreciate everybody being here and hanging out with us. We'll see you tomorrow night on Boom Bust. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Kyle.